Welcome to the academic standing portion of the Student Success Workshop. A student who is on good academic standing has a WU term and a WU cumulative GPA above 2.0. Transfer credits do not count towards your GPA for academic standing. This includes courses earned through dual enrollment programs. A student who does not earn a WU term GPA above 2.0 is placed on academic warning. As you remember from our overview discussion, 2.0 is the minimum GPA needed to graduate. Let's see what happens if your GPA does not improve. Take a look at the purple column. You see that there are 3 outcomes at the end of this term. Each outcome is based on GPA. Let's start at the top with probation. If your term GPA at the end of this term is below 2.0, you will be placed on academic probation. This means you are one step closer to being suspended. The next option is located in the middle purple box. If your WU term GPA is above 2.0, but your cumulative GPA remains below 2.0, then you will be placed on continued probation. You will remain on continued probation as long as your term GPA remains above 2.0. It may take 1 or 2 more terms to bring your WU cumulative GPA above 2.0. Once your cumulative GPA is also above 2.0, you will return to good academic standing. The last option we will look at is the bottom purple block. If at the end of this term both your WU term and cumulative GPAs are above 2.0, the academic warning is removed and you return to good academic standing. We will continue our discussion by looking at the academic standing options for the following term. Focus on the blue column in this slide. As you can see, both probation and continued probation have 3 different options. We will look at each of these options on the next few slides. First, let's look at the options for probation. If at the end of the term that you are placed on probation, your WU term and WU cumulative GPAs are above 2.0, then your probation status is removed and you return to good academic standing. If your term GPA is below 2.0 for a third term, you will be placed on academic suspension. This means you will not be allowed to enroll for at least 1 term. The third option is to have your WU term GPA be above 2.0, but your WU cumulative GPA still be lower than 2.0. If this occurs, you will be placed on continued probation. You'll remain on continued probation until your WU cumulative GPA is above 2.0, or you are suspended by having another term with a GPA below 2.0. We will now take a look at the options if you are placed on continued probation at the end of this term. If you are placed on continued probation at the end of this term, this means your WU term GPA was above 2.0, but your WU cumulative GPA remains below 2.0. Continued probation means you are taking steps to improve your academic success, but that you still have some work to do. At the end of the next term that you attend, there are 3 options for your academic standing. If you continue to have a WU term GPA above 2.0 and your cumulative GPA is also above 2.0, your academic status will return to good academic standing. If your term GPA drops below 2.0 for the next term, you will be placed on academic suspension and will be required to take time off from your studies at Western. The third option is to have another term GPA above 2.0, but your cumulative GPA remains below 2.0. If this occurs, you will remain on continued probation until you are either suspended or return to good academic standing. So now let's look at some things you can do so that you can return to good academic standing. The first thing is to focus on raising both your term and cumulative WU GPAs above 2.0. If you have any grades of F, retaking these courses can help raise your GPA faster than taking new courses. The reason for this is the new grade replaces the F grade in your cumulative GPA. This subtracts the credits from this class when you compute your GPA. There are a few things to consider as you determine whether to retake a course you received a grade of D- or better. If you passed a class with a D- or better, speak to your advisor and financial aid about retaking the course to raise your GPA. In certain cases, financial aid will not pay for the retake. If you are a student athlete, check with your coach to determine how retaking the course will affect your eligibility. In all cases, remember that the most recent grade will be used in your GPA calculations. So if your grade was a D plus and you drop to a D minus, the D minus is counted and not the D plus. If your grades do not improve and you are suspended, there are several things you should be aware of. First, you will not be allowed to attend Western for at least one term. Next, if you live in the residence halls, you will be required to move. You cannot live in the residence halls without being a student. You will be required to petition with the Academic Advising and Learning Center in order to return. This petition process can be completed during the mandatory one term off. There are deadlines associated with the petition process that, if not followed, may create a delay in your return. You may also lose financial aid. Attending Western and financial aid are not tied together. Just because you are allowed to return to Western after being suspended does not mean you will receive financial aid. If you have any questions about the academic standing policy or procedures, please do not hesitate to contact the Academic Advising and Learning Center. We can be reached by email at advising@wou.edu. You can also schedule an appointment with one of our advisors by calling 503-838-8428 or by stopping by our office in APSC 401. It's important that you understand that academic warning is not in and of itself bad. If having a GPA below 2.0 becomes a pattern, then it becomes an issue. If you proceed to probation, you will be required to complete additional steps so that you understand the consequences to your academic career. There may be times when it is better to take time off or to take a reduced course load until life settles down. Our advisors would be happy to help you work through your options. Only you know your circumstances and whether they have changed.